How close are you to a deal on a trade deal with India? Are you
Right.
willing to consider lowering the current tariff rate?
Well, right now the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down.
Sir,
on India.
Well, what kind of level are we talking about here?
I mean,
How
at
close
some
are you?
point, no, at some point we're going to be bringing them down. Without tariffs, we would be, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, you know, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. You know, we have more than, I would say right now, more than $18 trillion. The biggest number ever is a tiny fraction of that for any country. China, the United States, the biggest number ever. If you look at the past administration, Biden, he did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We're over 18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of. We have AI factories. We're leading China by a lot. We have cars and, you know, car plants coming in by more than we've ever had built before. All of that would go away if we lose the tariff case. So all of it would go away. So they're not giving the right numbers. It would be an economic disaster. It would be a national security disaster if we lost the case in the Supreme Court. Daniel?
President, back to that tariff
Yes.
rebate, this is an idea that you've been talking about for months. This is going to directly
Yeah.
and positively impact millions of Americans. Why was this important for you to do, and when can Americans expect that?
So I've been talking about it for a long time, the dividend to people that, you know, have suffered under the Biden administration. So Biden had the highest inflation in history, and we now are at a very low point. We're going to be hitting 1.5% pretty soon. So we're at a low point, and he was a high point. We did that. Food prices are way down. It's all coming down. And the biggest decrease, of course, is energy. And, you know, as goes energy, goes everything else. Because when energy comes down, the oil, the electric, but I think you're going to see $2 gasoline or something very close to that. In fact, we're already in the twos. But I think you're going to be seeing very soon $2 gasoline. That's like the equivalent of a massive tax cut. But in addition to that, the great big beautiful bill gives you a very, very big tax cut. And then you have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime for the middle income and for even, frankly, anybody. But you have no tax, and the no tax on tips has turned out to be a tremendous thing. But when you think no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our seniors, it's the great big beautiful bill, which has been mischaracterized. But now people they don't want to talk about it because it's so good, the enemy, because it's so good for everybody. It's the greatest piece of legislation ever passed in the history of our country in terms of size. And hence it's called, they call it the big beautiful bill or the one big beautiful, I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's an amazing bill for the middle class. It's an amazing bill for jobs. We've never passed anything like it. And in my first administration, so we had the greatest economy. Everything was good, but we're really outdoing it this time because we have investments coming in largely because of tariffs. And I think because of November 5th, the election result. But we have investments coming in like we've never had before.
The deal on Syria, Mr. President, on Syria.
Please, behind you. Caitlin, behind you. Thank you, Caitlin.
On Syria, can we expect an announcement on a pact between Syria and Israel, or an announcement on them joining the end to ISIS?
Yeah, you can expect some announcements on Syria. We want to see Syria become a country that's very successful, and I think this leader can do it. I really do. I think this leader can do it. And people said he's had a rough past. We've all had rough pasts. But he has had a rough past, and I think, frankly, if you didn't have a rough past, you wouldn't have a chance. He gets along very well with Turkey, with President Erdogan, who's a great leader. Erdogan's a great leader, and very much in favor of what's happening in Syria. We have to make Syria work. Syria is a big part of the Middle East, and I will tell you, I think it is working and really well. We're working also with Israel on, getting along with Syria, getting along with everybody. And that's working amazingly. As you know, Hamas has given us back numerous bodies. It sounds pretty gruesome, but it's something the parents want more than if their son had been living. Hard to believe. I've seen all of the parents, so many of the parents, and getting back the body of their son, their dead son, is as vital to them, as important to them, as if the boy was generally the boy. The boy was alive. And as you know, over the last 4 or 5 days, we've gotten a lot of the additional bodies that they said they were going to. They've worked very hard to do that. So we have peace in the Middle East. It's a great thing, and nobody's ever seen anything quite like it.
Actually, you're meeting with the Syrian
Trade talks
president
with
today,
Switzerland.
Mr.
You posted
President.
last week about your talks with Switzerland. We're reporting that you're near a deal that would lower their rate.
With Switzerland?
Yeah.
We're working on a deal to get their tariffs a little bit lower because,
15% is what we're thinking.
no, I haven't said any number, but we're going to be working on something to help Switzerland along. We hit Switzerland very hard. We want Switzerland to remain successful, and, we're a part of Switzerland in the sense that they've been a very good ally. Yeah, we're working on them and some others, and we're working on others to increase them a little bit too.
How close is it to Switzerland?
Switzerland, what, do you have something to do with Switzerland?
He wants to buy a watch.
He wants to buy a nice watch. Right? He wants to buy a nice Rolex, right? We'll give Rolex some publicity because Rolex has been, they've been very nice, Now, look, it's a beautiful country. It's a small country, but economically very big. So we're working on something.